Are you doing it?
What if he gets what if Nate and Conor gets 3 million pay-per-views?
It's not out of the question.
It's not.
It's a stretch, but not out of the question.
It's a stretch. But if Nate can talk the right amount of shit, and people get excited about it. Honestly, right now, for Conor, what else is there that's even close?
As far as fight?
In MMA?
Well,
what else is even close?
The only argument is you can say Conor's the only draw. He can fight Billy from Afghanistan and still get 2 million pay-per-view buys or break a million.
Nate Diaz is moving like the deal is already signed, like his name is inked in bold on the White House card, even though no opponent has surfaced and no contract has been flashed. There's no announcement, no press conference, just the sound of work echoing through the gym. The grind is deafening, even if he isn't. 5-minute rounds that feel like wars, boxing combinations snapping with bad intentions, conditioning sessions that look more like punishment than preparation. And the experts? They're watching closely now, whispering that this doesn't feel like a farewell tour or a nostalgia grab. This feels different. This feels calculated. Every pivot is sharp. Every exchange is deliberate. There's no wasted movement, no lazy reps, just a man preparing like he already knows something the rest of us don't. As rumors swirl and the spotlight starts to flicker back in his direction, Diaz stays locked in, unmoved by the noise, unmoved by the speculation. It's as if he's training for a ghost, for a name yet to be revealed, for a moment that hasn't officially arrived. Because when the sport's biggest stage lights up again and the call finally comes, there won't be time to catch up. There won't be time to get ready. And Diaz? He refuses to be the one who isn't prepared.
I think the answer is very obvious. I think we would all rather see Conor McGregor versus Nate Diaz 3. Of course, they are 1-1. The rubber match needs to happen. And if it doesn't happen in the UFC, maybe it happens down the line when they're out the UFC and they're both in the 50s, right? That fight needs to happen at some point in a car park, in a pub, in a restaurant, or better yet, at the White House in the UFC's octagon. That would be a fight that we all want to see, and I think it kind of needs to happen. Anyway, so that's what Nate Diaz should be targeting. That's what he should be talking about. Saying, never mind Michael Chandler, man. I can't do a Nate Diaz impression, right? He should say, never mind Michael Chandler. He's lost his last few fights. We're 1-1. Let's go. Let's do it at the Oval Office, on the White House lawn, wherever the fight's going to take place, right? That's what they should be called.
Although Nate Diaz stays in fighting shape and never really leaves the gym, Joe Rogan made it clear this isn't just about staying sharp anymore. He hinted that behind the scenes, the numbers being floated are massive, especially with a White House card looming like a once-in-a-lifetime spectacle. Rogan didn't mince words. When Diaz is involved, the money conversation changes. Because Nate doesn't borrow hype, he drags his own storm into the arena. He carries a die-hard army with him, a crowd that doesn't wait to see who's across the cage before choosing a side. The opponent is secondary. The energy is automatic. Rogan credited that gravitational pull to Diaz's raw, unfiltered honesty and the unapologetic edge that's never been polished for sponsors or softened for headlines. Fans don't just watch him, they see themselves in that defiance, that refusal to bend. And that's where the leverage lives. If the White House stage truly becomes reality, Rogan suggested it won't need fireworks to feel historic. Just the announcement alone would detonate attention. The moment Diaz's name hits the graphic, the scale shifts. The stakes feel heavier. The night feels bigger. Because whether contracts are signed or whispers are still circulating, one thing is certain: when Diaz steps into a spotlight that grand, it won't just be another fight card, it'll feel like an event built around his presence.
The tank.
I'm sure. I mean, they're obviously not out of shape. They're both thin.
Yeah.
They look like they're fit. I see them training. I see, pictures of them with jiu-jitsu gis on and hitting the bag and shit. It's, who knows, man? I mean, it's also like they want that big payday, especially now, and they should get that big payday. But goddamn, if I was the UFC,
you pay them?
Fuck yeah! I think those guys are superstars. I think the UFC doesn't know. I think one of the reasons why Nate Diaz versus Conor McGregor was so big is because people love Nate Diaz too. It's not just Conor McGregor.
No doubt.
If Conor McGregor, no disrespect to Eddie Alvarez, but when Conor McGregor fought Eddie Alvarez, the vast majority of the eyes were on Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
When Conor McGregor fights Nate Diaz, you're looking at a lot of people who love Nate Diaz.
Yeah. But how do you think that happened? Like, how do you think Nate got such that star power? You think it's like his attitude?
He legitimately doesn't give a fuck. He smokes weed all the time. People love it. They love the
And then Din Thomas leaned in and said something that sounded less like praise and more like a warning. The Diaz brothers don't age the way other fighters do. Their style, he explained, isn't built on borrowed time or fading explosiveness, it's engineered for survival. While others gamble on speed and raw athletic bursts that erode with every war, the Diaz formula is colder, sharper, technique honed to a blade's edge, suffocating pressure, and a kind of endurance that feels almost vindictive. Thomas stressed that they don't chase knockouts with reckless abandon, they drown opponents slowly, break them with volume, accuracy, and a cardio tank that refuses to empty. That foundation, he argued, is what allows them to compete deep into their careers, long after flashier fighters burn out. Because when the speed slips and the reflexes dull, skill remains. Conditioning remains. The will to walk forward remains. According to Thomas, that strategic blueprint doesn't just keep them relevant, it stretches their fighting lifespan in ways most athletes can't replicate. They don't depend on physical gifts that vanish overnight, they lean on repetition, durability, and a stubborn refusal to fade. And if that's true, then the most dangerous part isn't what they've already done, it's the uncomfortable possibility that they're nowhere near finished inside the cage.
I mean, honestly, if anybody could still fight in their old age, the way the Diaz brothers fight, their style will allow them to fight longer.
Yeah.
Because they're not like the best athletes. So they rely on skill and just
endurance.
Endurance, yeah. So like they can fight longer. So I'm assuming that they still have something left in.
On the other hand, Dana White didn't sugarcoat it. He made it clear he respects Nate Diaz, but locking in a fight with him is never as simple as fans think. From the outside, people assume the UFC can snap its fingers and make a matchup official overnight. Inside the room, it's a different story. Dana explained that Nate doesn't just accept whatever name is slid across the table, he aims high, sometimes unexpectedly high, pushing for marquee opponents or wildcard matchups that shake the board entirely. That ambition adds intrigue, but it also slows everything down. Negotiations stretch, timelines blur, momentum stalls. And when talk shifts to building a potential White House card, the stakes feel even heavier. Dana admitted Nate's name carries undeniable weight. It sparks headlines instantly and injects credibility into any lineup. But behind the scenes, structuring the right deal, finding the exact opponent that satisfies both business and ego, and aligning all the moving parts becomes a delicate balancing act. It's not just about respect, it's about leverage, expectations, and timing colliding at once. The value is obvious. The demand is real. Yet until the numbers align and the opponent fits perfectly, nothing moves. And with Nate, that final signature never comes easy.
I care about Nate a lot. I like Nate. But, getting a fight done with him isn't easy as it seems. Everybody's like, well, why don't you make a fight? Well, why don't you make a fight? Well, he asked for Francis Ngannou, and I could go on.
Adding fuel to the fire, Dana White flatly dismissed the noise about a supposed Conor McGregor versus Jorge Masvidal clash headlining a White House card, calling the rumor pure fiction and reminding everyone how easily the MMA world gets spun by half-truths and fantasy matchmaking. He pointed out that most of what circulates online isn't sourced, verified, or even remotely grounded in reality, so much so that even his own social feeds barely reflect the chaos fans swear is everywhere. In his view, the McGregor-Masvidal talk is smoke without fire, a headline designed to explode before anyone checks the facts. But when the conversation shifts to Nate Diaz, the tone changes. Suddenly, it doesn't feel like noise. It feels possible. Nate's ongoing preparation, his cult-like loyalty from fans, and his long resume of high-stakes wars inject credibility into the speculation. There's history there. There's demand there. And unlike the flashy rumor that collapses under scrutiny, the idea of Nate stepping back into a massive spotlight carries weight. It has traction. It feels constructed, not imagined. In a sport drowning in exaggeration, that distinction matters. Because while most viral matchups evaporate as quickly as they trend, this one lingers steady, believable, and charged with just enough realism to make fans lean forward instead of scroll past.
We've heard the new talk is that Conor McGregor, Jorge Masvidal could be a potential.
No,
What's your thoughts? Oh, you haven't heard this?
No.
This is the biggest thing on social media now. Everyone's talking, that Chandler's out and Masvidal's in, and it's Conor and Masvidal.
You know what's funny? So in my algorithm on Instagram, I have nothing MMA.
Right?
Literally nothing MMA pops up.
Oh, mine's
in my
politics.
algorithm.
That's my...
Yeah, mine's definitely, there's some politics, but Yeah, I don't listen to any of the goofy
No.
that goes. No,
Is that considered goofy?
that's goofy shit. Yeah, the MMA world, I don't listen to any of that. So literally none of that is on my algorithm. So people say, "Oh, did you hear?"
You ever heard? He's like, I believe you. He's not heard about that. It's funny. You type in one of their names too, and that's all people seem to be talking
Literally,
about.
almost everything you see on the internet about our sport is wrong.
It's not real.
It's all wrong. Yeah.
Fans haven't just been waiting for the trilogy, they've been counting the days. And Michael Bisping says the picture couldn't be clearer. Nate Diaz versus Conor McGregor 3 isn't a fantasy, it's unfinished business demanding closure. With one win apiece, the score sits perfectly balanced, tense, unresolved, the kind of deadlock that refuses to fade quietly. Bisping believes the rubber match isn't merely overdue, it feels destined, like the final chapter everyone knows is coming but no one can quite schedule. He even paints it on the biggest canvas imaginable, half joking about a collision on the White House lawn, turning spectacle into something almost mythic. To him, this is the exact caliber of fight Nate should be hunting: global, electric, impossible to ignore. Not a tune-up, not a side story, an event that hijacks headlines and forces the entire MMA world to stop and stare. Because when these two share a cage, it doesn't stay contained. It spills into mainstream culture, ignites debates, fractures loyalties, and resurrects the raw tension that made their rivalry iconic in the first place. And if that third fight finally materializes, it won't just settle a score. It will stamp an era, etch itself into highlight reels forever, and become the kind of moment fans replay years later, still arguing about who truly owned the night.
I think the answer is very obvious. I think we would all rather see Conor McGregor versus Nate Diaz 3. Of course, they are 1-1. The rubber match needs to happen. And if it doesn't happen in the UFC, maybe it happens down the line when they're out the UFC and they're both in the 50s, right? That fight needs to happen at some point in a car park, in a pub, in a restaurant, or better yet, at the White House in the UFC's octagon. That would be a fight that we all want to see, and I think it kind of needs to happen. Anyway, so that's what Nate Diaz should be targeting. That's what he should be talking about. Saying, never mind Michael Chandler, man. I can't do a Nate Diaz impression, right? He should say, never mind Michael Chandler. He's lost his last few fights. We're 1-1. Let's go. Let's do it at the Oval Office, on the White House lawn, wherever the fight's going to take place, right? That's what they should be.
Building on that idea, Michael Bisping pulls the lens back to reveal the larger storm forming. If Nate Diaz walks into the octagon again and Conor McGregor truly follows through on his return, Bisping sees no logical reason to stall what feels destined. The trilogy isn't just an option, it's the move that reshapes everything. Their rivalry already sits near the summit of Ultimate Fighting Championship lore, stitched into the sport's most replayed highlights and loudest debates. Elevate the tension onto a White House card and the stakes don't just rise, they detonate, casting a shadow over every other major matchup scheduled beneath it. For Bisping, this goes beyond hype or clever promotion. McGregor doesn't need another payday, doesn't need validation, doesn't need to prove relevance. But the hunger to compete, to seize one more defining spotlight, never truly dies in fighters wired like him. That itch lingers. And when the opportunity presents itself on a stage branded as historic, layered with spectacle and symbolism, it becomes harder to ignore. One more walk, one more eruption, one more chapter that could either crown a legacy or fracture it permanently. In Bisping's mind, that combination, unfinished rivalry, global stage, and the promise of a final statement makes McGregor's presence on such a card feel less like speculation and more like inevitability waiting for a signature.
To see it, if Nate Diaz was to come back. But if he was, and if Conor McGregor does actually make it back, I think that's the fight to make all day long. The 1-1, there were some of the biggest fights in UFC history. Nate Diaz versus Conor McGregor at the White House would be absolutely insane. It probably will have Tom Aspinall versus John Jones in the main event. It probably will have Conor McGregor versus someone, Michael Chandler or Nate Diaz, in the co-main event. So that just kind of sets the tone for how big that card would be. What do you think? Do you think Conor McGregor will actually make it back? Of course, he hasn't fought since 2021, right? It's going to be 5 years since he last fought. I, for one, fair play to the guy. Fair play, man. Respect. He doesn't need to do this. He doesn't need to come back. He's got lots of other avenues and ways to make money. But fighting is something that never leaves you, okay? It's a part of who you are. It's in your DNA. It's part of your soul. And he wants to come back and he wants to get his hands raised in victory. Of course, he wants to come back and be a part.
Whereas MMA Guru shifted the lens toward timing and context, drilling into the fan perspective with calculated precision, he argued that the next true must-see fight hinges entirely on Nate Diaz actually returning and making noise, real noise, with a statement win at welterweight. Not a tune-up, not a close decision, a decisive, undeniable victory that forces the conversation. Only then, he insists, would a trilogy with Conor McGregor feel electric enough to headline something as audacious as a White House card. Without that spark, it's just nostalgia. With it, it becomes unavoidable. Meanwhile, hardcore fans are locked in heated debates over alternative matchups, throwing around names like Jorge Masvidal or even Glover Teixeira, dissecting styles and scenarios as if the future is theirs to script. But behind the noise, behind the endless threads and bold predictions, insiders are quietly circling a different conclusion. Figures like Ariel Helwani aren't dismissing the speculation, they're subtly steering it. The momentum, they suggest, bends back toward Diaz versus McGregor. Not because it's easy, not because it's convenient, but because when the timing aligns and the stakes are properly framed, no other bout carries the same gravitational pull. And if Diaz delivers that signature win, the shift from rumor to reality could happen fast, sudden, sharp, and impossible to ignore.
Because that's not the fight I want to see next, okay? If Nate Diaz comes back and gets a big win over someone in the welterweight division, okay? And he does it impressively, and then the McGregor fight happens. That's when I'm interested. But right now, I feel like the hardcore fans are kind of in mutual agreement that it's Masvidal or Gaethje. To us, it's kind of Masvidal or Gaethje. And for Chael Sonnen and Ariel Helwani to both say that they think Nate Diaz trilogy should be next is strange to me. Very strange to me. Because I would love to see either Gaethje or Masvidal. I feel like everyone's in agreement here. We've seen that Donald Cerrone has been beaten by Conor McGregor in his return at UFC.
Then Ben Askren turned heads with a brazen take on Nate Diaz's legacy, flipping the narrative and daring fans to argue. He claimed that beneath all the hype, the chants, and the cult-like devotion, Diaz is, at his core, an average fighter masterfully marketed as elite, pointing to a record that, by Askren's measure, is modest both in the Ultimate Fighting Championship and elsewhere. He painted Diaz's reputation as a constructive perception rather than pure achievement. And he didn't shy away from warning of the fallout. Calling out Diaz publicly, he suggested, could ignite a social media inferno, a wildfire of debate and outrage that spreads faster than any fight highlight. Whether fans buy into it or bristle at the audacity, Askren's declaration is destined to ripple through the MMA community, forcing insiders, commentators, and casual observers alike to reckon with a more complicated picture of the man behind the myth. In the context of a potential White House showdown, this layered perspective adds tension, injecting intrigue into every angle, from matchmaking speculation to legacy arguments, and ensuring that any matchup involving Diaz carries stakes far beyond the octagon. It's no longer just a fight, it's a collision of reputations, narratives, and the unpredictable fury of a fanbase that thrives on controversy, setting the stage for drama long before the bell ever rings.
So listen, Nate Diaz, he is the most puzzling. He's not. I don't even think he's that good. I'll go get his record if you want me to. But he has convinced people he is good at fighting somehow, some way.
He's pretty good.
I'm gonna go get his damn record, Daniel. It's not.
But he won the Ultimate Fighter. He won the Ultimate Fighter. I'm saying he was good for the time that he was fighting.
No, he wasn't. He was average.
He was. Yeah. Okay. I'm just
okay.
trying.
I'm gonna go get the record. I'm gonna go get the record. They're gonna yell at me. I know this. Okay. Let's see. Well, his record is 21-13.
Oh my God. Really?
Yes, that's not that great.
Okay, I take it back. I'm taking it back.
And he was going into the UFC, he was, I think it was 5-1. So within the UFC, he was 16-12.
That's not good.
That's not very good.
That's not good. There's really no way to twist that into good.
Yeah. So but you know, his personality, that's another one's like, how did his personality catch on? He says funny things sometimes. He's a little bit different. I don't know. Yeah. And listen, if you post this clip, please don't post this clip because the Diaz army will attack.
On the topic of who might grace the card, Chael Sonnen dissected the lineup with sharp focus, mapping out the star power poised to define the White House card. He kicked off with Michael Chandler that Chandler would feature prominently, with potential matchups ranging from Benoit St. Denis to a rematch with Dan Hooker, or even a rapid turnaround BMF-style bout, though Sonnen admitted the latter seems less plausible given the tight timeline. He didn't stop there, spotlighting Ilia Topuria as a major international draw capable of energizing global audiences, while pointing out that Alex Pereira, currently unbooked, would almost certainly find his way onto the card, adding another layer of star power. According to Sonnen, the careful curation of these names isn't just about stacking fights, it's a deliberate strategy to ensure the event resonates on multiple levels, delivering both domestic excitement and international intrigue. The combination of established talent and rising stars, he argued, guarantees the card will command attention far beyond casual fans, creating a spectacle where every bout carries weight and every fighter contributes to an overarching sense of magnitude. In Sonnen's view, the careful orchestration of these marquee names ensures that the White House card won't merely be another event, it will stand as a global showcase of MMA star power, credibility, and undeniable draw.
Telling you, the most confident guy that I believe is going to fight is Michael Chandler. Who's he going to fight? I think that Benoit St. Denis is possible. I think that a rematch with Dan Hooker is possible. I think there's a chance of a quick turnaround with the BMF, but I don't know how bullish I am just because that turnaround would be so quick. But I am very confident that Chandler's going to be on there. I will tell you, Alex Pereira, if you want to know the sport's biggest stars, you've got Alex Pereira and Sean O'Malley that have been battling for the top spot for 2 years now. But from what we're told, Ilia Topuria is a massive star, particularly internationally. So now that you've got the return of Ilia Topuria, it would seem as though you would use your big star over there. It would also seem with Alex Pereira, since he's not booked, that he would be played.
Sonnen closed out his breakdown of the White House card by insisting that both Ilia Topuria and Alex Pereira need to share the same lineup, arguing that pairing these two rising stars would ignite a surge of excitement unlike anything else on the card. He emphasized that this matchup wouldn't just please fans, it would dominate headlines, emerging as the defining story of the event and offering a vivid preview of the high-stakes clashes MMA enthusiasts should expect. According to Sonnen, the chemistry of such marquee names has the potential to elevate the card from a typical spectacle into a historic moment, capturing attention on both domestic and international stages. With fighters of this caliber stacked in a single night, he suggested, the White House card could quickly transform into one of the most talked-about events in recent Ultimate Fighting Championship history, leaving fans buzzing long after the final bell. In Sonnen's view, the combination of skill, notoriety, and anticipation ensures that the event won't merely be watched, it will be dissected, debated, and remembered as a benchmark for what high-profile MMA cards can achieve, setting a new standard for star power and global intrigue.
I do think you're going to get Ilia and you're going to get Pereira on the same card. I think that's going to be exciting. I think that's going to be the news that comes out of this meeting.
On the other hand, Demetrius Johnson believes Islam Makhachev has a golden opportunity to carve his name into history by facing Ilia Topuria at the White House card and retiring at the absolute peak of his career. Following the blueprint laid out by Khabib Nurmagomedov, Johnson envisions Islam as an unstoppable force, one capable of dismantling Topuria with precision, turning the bout into a definitive, career-defining finale. It's not just another fight, it's a statement of dominance, a showcase of his unique style and strategic mastery, designed to seal his legacy in a single, unforgettable night. For fans, the implications are electric, a high-stakes showdown where every strike carries weight, every exchange feels monumental, and the outcome promises both fireworks and history in the making. Johnson frames this matchup as more than entertainment, it's a potential capstone to a legendary career, a moment that could echo through MMA circles for years. By combining tactical brilliance, peak physical performance, and the narrative of retiring undefeated at the pinnacle, the bout becomes an event loaded with suspense, drama, and inevitability. In Johnson's eyes, if Islam executes this plan, the fight won't just satisfy fans' appetites, it will cement him as one of the sport's all-time greats, leaving an indelible mark on the White House card and MMA history alike.
I didn't think Islam was going to be able to. I didn't think Islam is small for 170. I've seen him in person. I've trained with him. He's a big fucking dude. And who would Islam fight next at 170? You know what? I think Islam is destined for. He should fight Ilia Topuria at the White House. If he beats Ilia Topuria, he retires. Islam has plenty of money, right? Go out on your shield like Khabib did. A lot of people in MMA don't want to see that, but in mixed martial arts, us athletes, we stay too long at the party. There's no reason for an athlete to continue to come to the head and all that stuff. If I was him, fight Ilia Topuria at the White House. You beat Ilia Topuria, walk away. I'm sure he made another one. That shit probably goes as far as fucking Russia, so there's no point for him to keep on fighting.
Moving on to who else is gunning for the White House card, Sean Ali isn't holding anything back about the fight he believes truly matters. While he concedes that Merab has earned a title shot on pure merit, Ali is adamant that a White House clash with Petrian is the matchup destined to make the biggest splash. He frames it as a high-stakes, all-American collision, a bout that doesn't just entertain, it electrifies, carrying the weight of pride, prestige, and the chance to shine on the sport's grandest stage. For Ali, this isn't simply another fight on the calendar, it's a career-defining moment, the kind that could rewrite his legacy if executed flawlessly. Every exchange, every strategy, every punch carries the potential to cement his place in MMA history, transforming a single night into a lifetime highlight. And while fans debate other possibilities and speculate endlessly, Ali's vision centers on one thing: impact. That unmistakable combination of timing, talent, and stakes makes the bout more than a matchup. It becomes a narrative, a story fans can rally behind, and a defining spectacle for the White House card. What's your take on how this lineup is shaping up? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to hit subscribe to stay locked into all the latest updates and fight breakdowns.